Well, I should be live by now. Live. Alright. On Trump, I just had a few things I wanted to talk about. And maybe I'll mix up the order that I thought I was going to talk about it, in the sense that I will start with. I'm not particularly worried, per se. I do think he'll be bad, but I'm not personally worried. I've been wondering, how is it going to personally affect whether my survival is threatened or not? It could be bad. It could not be. I mean, I think where I am in my life has had more of an effect on how I do, but I've also seen presidents have an effect on the economy. So if he fucks that shit up, then we're screwed. Or I'm screwed. And, but basically, I don't see it as a big time shift or some huge paradigm change. Who is president of the United States? It's not changing who all the people are. We got problems. It definitely shows we got problems with who the people are. But that's the problem. Is that if the people are going to have stupid ideas, believe stupid things, and that doesn't change. The same people were here when Obama was president yesterday, as are here today when Trump is the president. So one thing I wanted to talk about is I think there's a situation of mass hysteria, and it's dangerous. It's like there's been groups that saw hallucinations. The Virgin Mary floated in the sky behind the sun, or whatever, because the power of suggestion or whatever hurdy-gurdy man kind of phenomena. Groups can go insane together, where the individual might seem like a fairly sane person. They reserve a part of themselves for the group, for fitting in, for doing as the Romans do. And that part, in connection with the others, can go separately insane and have a profound effect on the individual. And I think we have a mass hysteria right now, and it's scary that it's on both sides, because that's what can lead to civil wars, when both sides become insane. Because as I've been saying, that guy that shot up the airport in Florida, they were really interested on CNN and whatnot if he was insane. We were giving him a medical exam. If they find out he's sane and did that, how's that fucking work? How could you be sane and decide to shoot some strangers in the airport? Well, they might have had a good reason. I mean, no, he couldn't have. That's fucking crazy. And so, anyway, when groups of people go insane with fantasies about each other, because the right seems to have made up a lot of these, Hillary Clinton raping kids in the Pizza Hut, of course, and, Obama, secret Leninist, going to declare martial law. That, I wish. They seem more aggressive with these mass hysterical stories, but the liberals have their own. And I could give you some examples, but I'll just say they could solidify into something equally as solid, and then suddenly there's an incident. The Prince of Serbia gets shot and assassinated in a motorcade, and all hell breaks loose because everybody has someone to blame for their fear. So I don't want that to happen. So that's something that's happening. It's bad. Another thing I notice is, look, conservatives. I'm not surprised if a conservative tries to say he's the president, you should respect him, just to see if it works. But I see in the face of these people that are saying things like that, to me, to us, that they're sincere. They actually believe, well, you called the candidate I preferred a serial murderer that raped kids in the Pizza Hut. And you called, and I wasn't even that fond of her. Not at all. I'd much prefer Bernie. And Obama is these things, and declare martial law, and is a secret Leninist and whatnot. And I was actually told that in person, in real life, someone I know in real life. That's why I use that as an example. And that's not really giving people chances. And you're like, oh, but it's true. Really, that's how you don't understand. And today somebody was like, hey, if you think the 80s suck, because it's like, it's back to the 80s, the guy was saying. And I'm like, I lived through the 80s. It sucked. And the guy said, well, you must be a cuck then. Well, it's coming back to happen. We've put up with your liberal bullshit long enough. Like, he thinks the liberal bullshit's going to end. Seriously? Does he seriously think liberal whining is going to end when Trump is the president? I don't think so. I think Trump might lend himself to a lot of excuses for people to do more rather than less liberal whining. They're just relishing the liberal tears. And that was the comment I had originally. It's like, well, here's the liberal tear. The 80s sucked. And it wasn't like because they were bad for me. I think that's a shallow way to look at it. I don't look at my life and what I was going through and go, that's how bad that president was. I met a terrible girl and we had a terrible relationship. No, that is on me. I can separate what a president can do from what I was going through, right? So the things that were bad about Reagan were, we had all these homeless go on the street during that period. It's just popping up because he kicked people out of mental institutions. And that's just the way the Republicans think it should be. They like stepping over people, some of them, I guess. I don't understand. Or they just are so stupid they don't know that that's what happens when you kick mentally ill people out on the streets, that then we have to deal with them. And some of them are functional enough to be criminals. Yay! Right? Or student loans. Couldn't get student loans. Now, that turned out to be, there was a silver lining to not being able to get student loans. Because though I had to drop out of Berkeley for 2 years, I did manage to go back in, and I had no student debt at the end. Because I had to figure out a way to pay. Luckily, I was already a programmer. So I had a way to pay. Because I worked as a programmer. Which, for a student, working as a cheap programmer is a pretty, for a student, lucrative enough. Because I wasn't making very good money, really, certainly not compared to a software engineer. But then again, I was learning, and so that's how that works out. And, I lucked out. Otherwise, I just wouldn't have been able to get my education. I wouldn't have been able to get a degree. So I did okay. But I don't mind the struggle that I went through. But I can recognize that he just made it harder. There were people my age that didn't get to go to college that should have. And because he made it difficult. So these things that the president influences, that's what I'm talking about when I say it sucked. It also sucked because there were so many sucky styles that sucked. And the popular music was bullshit. You could say, oh, but it was great because there was The Cure and Talking Heads. And yeah, there was cooler things and downright underground things that most people didn't know about that were great, and some great films, and tons of great things among the fact that, as far as the things the president could influence, sucked. Destroy the environment, don't help working class kids that are up for it get an education, send the mentally ill out into the streets. That's a good idea. And so back to the 80s doesn't sound good. But the point of that was really, I mean, the conservatives, look, conservatives, we are the opposition. Just like you, I don't suddenly become a Trump fan because he won the election. I don't become a fan of somebody just because they won some contest or trophy or anything. Whatever they've achieved, it's based on their policies. And I'm not just voting on a person that I intend to have faith in. And when I'm outvoted and you vote the person in, suddenly I'm going to support that person. Just like that's not what you did for Obama. You did not say, well, he's my president then. No, you said he was a Kenyan that wasn't even a citizen and wasn't eligible, and he was illegitimate as a result of that. That's what you did. Okay, and I think you guys went way too far with the Pizzagate, not the crazy ideas that you had. But it's your right to be the opposition. I never spent any time thinking, well, you should be totally pro-Clinton now that you lost the election. No, that would be fucking stupid. So, I would not say that to you. And I respect your position. And frankly, elections aren't won on election day. They're won or lost later on when you find out, and I find out, how well he does and how much he lied to people. And if he does well and he lied to us all, that would be a positive result by definition. If he did well, if it worked out. And if it turns out that lying to the American people was the way to do it, we'd have to go, maybe we should get smarter so you don't have to lie to us. I doubt seriously that's what's going to happen. He's putting people like Rick Perry in charge of departments that they forgot forgot the name of, but they remembered that they wanted to destroy, and now he's going to be in charge of it. I don't think that's probably going to work out well. Maybe there's some kind of crazy logic, like if Obama was playing ninth dimensional chess, and that's why he deserved a Nobel Peace Prize for ending up droning and sending special ops into 70% of the countries on Earth. It's some sort of 9-dimensional chess, right? He's just some crazy, so awesome of a strategy, I can't fathom it. Maybe Trump will be stupid smart, man. I just shook it. Look, it's better. It is better. I'm open-minded to that, but that's not what I'm expecting. All right. So the last thing here is a little bit of Trump's mob connections. So here's one I noticed, and I'm not the only one. Recently, New Year's party night, rather, he was on stage with this guy here, known as, I don't know how to pronounce his real last name, Joey No Socks. New Year's Day. Right? And here's the thing. They had this guy holding the eagle right there. This is the little guy who pumped, yay, fist pump, get rid of the ACA. Now, this guy, there's articles and videos on him going back quite a while, way before Trump was taken seriously for president. He has a business that seems to be almost entirely based on giving awards to Trump's properties. Called, I think it's the Star Diamond Award or something like that. And he is a convicted felon art thief that is linked up to the mob. And he's on stage right next to Trump on New Year's. And he has a lot of experience with Trump. He's an associate that Trump is well familiar with. Now, more interesting than that, and worth looking into to see if you think there's anything to it, is this dude here, Roy Cohn. He was a lawyer. He got famous during the McCarthy hearings prosecuting communists. He was well known. Again, you can see very old, way before anybody took Trump seriously, documentaries on this guy, and can easily see that it's not because people don't like Trump that they noticed this guy and made it up, the way most of the conspiracies, except for those that involved Jeffrey Epstein, are. This guy was an associate. He was a conspirator, a collaborator in the McCarthy hearings, which some of you probably support, but fine, I don't. People should know. Some of you will think it's a good thing. This was a McCarthy dude. He prosecuted those people for being communist, I believe, if I recall correctly. He was Trump's lawyer until he died. Until Trump's still alive, so I'm talking about this guy. When this guy died, that is the moment he ceased being Trump's lawyer. I'm claiming, and it's true, this guy was a mentor to Trump. By the way, he was also John Gotti's lawyer. And that's not the only mobster that he was a lawyer for. He's a mob lawyer. But that's just my opinion. Who knows? That's just the impression I've gotten from following Trump for fucking 30 years now. No. Honestly, like 37 years or something it must have been. In the 80s. I know I started following Trump in the 80s because he was the big poster boy for greed is good. In the IRL, in real life, greed is good poster boy. And I hated that shit in the 80s. I hated that. I hated all these hippies that were now stockbrokers. I don't even hate them anymore. I'm like, well, you go through shit in your life. But I hated them at the time, and so Trump caught my attention. And then he went bankrupt, and I thought I wasn't going to have to worry about him anymore. And then he showed up on a reality TV show, and I'm like, yeah, but whatever. And then I realized that having millions of people watch you, it's like Von Helton is disappointed in Trump already. Which, good for you, Von Helton. But he was saying because he thought he would go to Washington and be like, you're fired. It'd be just like a fucking TV show. Anyway, I love all Americans, other people that live in places on the earth, and any people living on other planets as well. I hope you fare well. I think we can all make it. Cheers.